The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes.
For millions of Americans who retire every year, the task of ensuring that your money is working hard enough to provide you with a consistent paycheck can make the job of working for that paycheck seem easy. Retirement doesn't signal the end of financial worry. In fact, for the majority of retirees, it's just the beginning. The assets you have built must be able to provide you and your family with financial security for all the years to come. That's why you need a game plan for retirement, making sure you have a plan and that your money is working hard to provide you with an income you can depend on. This is your game plan for retirement.
And welcome into this special Christmas holiday best of edition of Your Game Plan for Retirement, featuring Ralph and Josiah Grauso of ASC Financial Group for a retirement built to last. Over the course of this program, Ralph and Josiah Grauso have tried to provide you with the gift of financial health and education, and for their neighbors and residents across Allentown and the Poconos, Ralph and Josiah Grauso's sincere hope is that by tuning into this program, you've gained the ability to make more informed and educated financial decisions. As we celebrate the holiday season, we thought we would recap the past year of Your Game Plan for Retirement and check in with Ralph and Josiah on several important topics for your game plan for retirement. Before we get started, as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, even in the hustle and bustle of the holiday season, don't forget the importance of setting financial priorities and making strides toward achieving financial goals. In a season that involves a heavy spirit of giving, it's easy to find that we sometimes put our own priorities on the back burner, and sometimes rightfully so. However, the team from ASC Financial Group reminds you that being financially independent and self-sufficient is a gift not only to yourself, but also a blessing to your family and loved ones. And being a good steward of your money is an important principle to live by. As you're out and about enjoying the holiday season, maybe doing some last-minute shopping, we hope that you take some extra time over the course of the next half hour and enjoy some information and education. And remember that your financial well-being and progress is important in every season. As a special gift for tuning in today, Ralph and Josiah Grauso want to make a special book available to you and all residents across the Poconos and Allentown. Income Allocation is a book that is especially important for those who are nearing and preparing for or already in retirement. If this describes you, or you feel like this would be a good gift for one of your loved ones this Christmas season, pick up the phone and give ASC Financial Group a call for a retirement built to last. 800-939-8633. That's 800-939-8633, and request a copy of this book, Income Allocation. Now let's check in with Ralph and Josiah Grauso as they describe some of the most important aspects they see to achieving financial and retirement success.
When someone is entering into their retirement stage of life, the big question becomes income. Where is my money going to come from? And years ago, folks relied upon Social Security and getting a pension from a company in most cases. So they probably didn't give a whole lot of thought other than that. But today, because people are retiring without a pension, and because Social Security is obviously not going to cover even maybe their most fixed expenses, their most basic expenses, this question becomes paramount. Where is income going to come from? As we go through our working lives and we're putting money aside, we may be putting money aside in an IRA, we may be putting money aside in a savings plan. We consider that our nest egg as we move into retirement of what we've accumulated. But now the big question becomes, how do we take distribution? What's the best way to take distribution? Should I take it out of my IRA? Should I take it out of my non-taxable accounts? What's the best way to do that? And obviously, that is an individual choice and something where you don't want to generalize too much. But basically, from a tax standpoint, we're just talking tax standpoint now, at 70 and a half, you're going to be required to take out an IRA, your money out of an IRA or a 401k, and start your distributions. So that's fine to take money from that, but in reality, we really don't want to take more than our required minimum distribution if we have a taxable account, because the monies coming out of the taxable account are going to be more tax favored, are going to be treated differently than money coming out of an IRA.
Because we have this requirement to withdraw money from those accounts starting at 70 and a half, Ralph, are you seeing that it's oftentimes advantageous to formulate a strategy for how to take that money out, or maybe even make conversions earlier than 70 and a half?
What people sometimes fail to recognize or understand is that it's not a matter of my gross income, it's a matter of my net income. It's what do I keep? And so that is why tax planning becomes critical when we're looking at withdrawals, because how is that going to affect income taxes? And I can't tell you how many times I've seen folks take maybe a little bit too much from the IRA portion, and it actually put them in a higher tax bracket, when if they took money from a non-IRA, that would have kept them in their prior tax bracket. So understanding how that money is taxed is critical, and then looking at your overall tax bracket to see how is that going to be affected. What am I really netting? What am I going to be living on after tax? And so that's where I see a lot of people fail to plan or don't take a closer look at my gross versus my net when they're looking at income planning.
That's Ralph Grauso, president and founder of ASC Financial Group, talking about the need for income to have a retirement built to last. Josiah Grauso is also a member of the team at ASC Financial Group and reminds you that taxes are another important consideration with how your income is going to be created and how much of it you are going to get to keep.
One of the biggest, I would say, myth out there is when it comes to tax planning is, well, I'm in retirement, I'm not going to have to pay as much taxes because I'm not going to be making as much money. The truth of the fact is that may be true to a degree, but some of the things you think about when you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s that reduces our tax burden are these things called deductions, possibly mortgage interest, and most importantly is those of us who are married and we have children, we get to deduct those guys off of our tax plans. And as we get into retirement, we may not be making as much an income, but we lose a whole bunch of deductions that we have from our normal tax plan every single year. And so being able to understand how that works and the different strategies that you may have to employ, which are a little bit different, especially with these type of qualified plans and 401ks and 457s, 403bs, where you're forced to start taking money out of the accounts at a certain age because, unfortunately, Uncle Sam doesn't want their dollar to be paid on their taxes. You may not be making as much of a take-home income as while you were working, but we may be paying a higher tax bracket because we're now in different thresholds that we weren't before. On top of which, we're also going to have other streams of income that we have coming in, like Social Security, which if you make too much money, 50% or 85% of that Social Security can now be taxed or subject to ordinary income tax. And something that everyone has to understand here is for those qualified plans that you have, these 401ks or IRAs that you have a partner in those accounts. I always joke with my clients, what does an IRA stand for? Almost everybody says an individual retirement account, and it doesn't. It's actually an internal revenue account. They're your partners in these type of accounts of where they're the only ones who can determine how much of a partnership they may have by increasing or decreasing the taxable brackets that we're in every single year. Could be at 30%, could be at 35%, could be dropped to 25%. They're the ones who determine their stake in that partnership. And I look at our budget right now that Congress passes for this country, and I don't think they're very good managers of money. And so trying to minimize the amount of taxes that we have to pay out, especially in retirement, is some big things that we stress and we talk about is it better to pay tax on the seed or on the harvest? Because every time we deduct these taxable accounts, we are going to have to pay for it at some point later down the road. For some people, it does make sense to go down that route. For others, a conversion or looking at some more tax-free potential accounts may be in their better interest.
Taxes are going to be one of your largest expenses in retirement. You plan ahead for the holidays. You plan ahead for your vacations. But how much are you planning ahead for how much of your money you'll get to keep in retirement? For a retirement built to last, Ralph Grauso and Josiah Grauso and the team at ASC Financial Group encourage you to consider strategies and options to reduce or minimize your future taxes.
Taxes have a huge impact on what happens short term and long term. Not to mention that tax planning has to be flexible because we know that what our current tax code is right now could very well be changed in the future. So we have to be able to adjust our plan to address that issue. There's always consequences to the actions we do with our money, particularly in the area of accumulating money and then when we're distributing money. That's going to have a huge impact on how our tax planning goes and how our taxes are paid or affected by how we invest and how we withdraw. Obviously, tax-deferred type investing is better than a taxable investing in a lot of respects. But the third, tax-free, we see very little of. And tax-free investing is better than the other two because if tax rates go up and my money is coming out tax-free, it really doesn't matter. And so we really need to be shifting, particularly as we get close to retirement, or if we're already in retirement, we need to be shifting our assets more to a tax-free basis than even a tax-deferred.
Well, folks, if taxes are of concern for you, if you have saved your retirement savings in tax-deferred methods and want to look at ways that you can minimize or eliminate any unnecessary taxes throughout your retirement, that's going to add more money to your bottom line. It's allowing you to keep more of your hard-earned money. You need to talk with the team at ASC Financial Group because that is a component of their planning for retirement and the job that they will help you accomplish in pursuing your retirement goals. If you would like to speak with them on a complimentary, no-obligation basis, I want to remind you that they do make their time available to you across the Lehigh Valley and the Poconos. ASC Financial Group, a retirement built to last. Ralph and Josiah Grauso and the rest of the team will sit with you on a complimentary, no-obligation basis to help you review and evaluate your plans. All you have to do is pick up the phone and give a call, 800-939-8633. Again, that number, 800-939-8633. Ralph, you've spoken before about the seed and the harvest concept. Can you tell us again about this seed and harvest and what we need to realize about the way that we are planting our money to harvest it in the future?
I like to use illustrations. I like to use stories. I think we can take a complicated subject and make it a lot simpler by illustration. And so when we look at how our money grows, if I'm a farmer and I have seed, I'm going to plant that seed and I'm hoping for a harvest. That harvest is going to be a multiplier of the seed that I've planted. And if I have a choice between paying the tax on the seed only or on the harvest, which would I'd rather do? Well, obviously, I'd rather just pay the tax on the seed. But what we find many investors doing is paying tax on the harvest, and that creates a problem in retirement.
Well, Ralph, you've mentioned that the third bucket, that tax-free bucket, that would be when you pay the tax on the seed and therefore the harvest is tax-free. Why is it, in your opinion, that you are seeing so many people ignoring this bucket or at least not taking advantage of it?
Well, I think there's not a whole lot of education out there. That would be one reason. I think the second reason would be the fact that people are ingrained to thinking traditional methods of accumulating money through a traditional 401k or IRA. These have been around for years, and so they're kind of lulled into thinking that, I'm putting money away for retirement, and I get a tax deduction along the way. And that's great, except that if I pay that tax in a lower bracket to only wind up in a higher bracket later on because tax rates went up, when that money comes out, I'm actually taxed at a higher bracket. It actually has a significant effect on the amount of money that I'm drawing out.
Thank you for spending some of your time with us on Christmas Eve on this best of edition of Your Game Plan for Retirement with the team from ASC Financial Group. For a retirement built to last, Ralph Grauso and Josiah Grauso are your local income allocation and financial and retirement advisors. They make their time available to you. If you have questions or concerns or would like to take them up on the offer for the complimentary financial review and evaluation, pick up the phone and give them a call at 800-939-8633. That's 800-939-8633. 800-939-8633. As a special gift for tuning in today, they have also made a book available, Income Allocation, that explains some of the strategies and options utilized to create a more stable and secure financial future. If you would like to pick up a copy of this book and you are in retirement or nearing retirement within the next 5 to 10 years, pick up the phone and give a call and request a copy of Income Allocation. 800-939-8633. That's 800-939-8633. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back with more on this Christmas Best of edition of Your Game Plan for Retirement from ASC Financial Group.
With the turn of a calendar page, new goals are set and priorities are evaluated and renewed. What are you going to do to be the best you can be throughout the coming year? More importantly, what are you going to do to make next year and every year after the best they can be for you? There are many things that we can resolve to improve upon. Our diet, our exercise, our habits, our treatment of others. Not surprisingly, financial resolutions rank near the top of the list of common New Year's commitments. Let's face it, no matter how well we are doing financially, we can all probably improve in some area. But it is hard to make major changes and stick to them for an extended period. And failing to make significant strides towards a goal may set us back more than it improves our mental state. In order to help you accomplish your goals, try to focus on small, realistic commitments you can stick to. A journey of great distance is accomplished by starting with small steps. Remember to be smart setting your goals for next year. SMART is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Specific, set a very specific goal. Measurable, be able to measure your progress. Attainable, skip unrealistic goals to avoid letting yourself down. Relevant, goals need to be relevant or they will never get done. Timely, set goals that you can finish, then focus on setting your sights higher. SMART goals will help you achieve success. So remember, be smart and set goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. We sincerely hope this year has been good to you and your loved ones, and that every year in the future only gets better.
For a financial review of 2016 and a look forward to strategies to improve for 2017 and beyond, call your local income allocation and retirement advisors at ASC Financial Group for a retirement built to last. 800-939-8633. That's 800-939-8633. And welcome back to this special Christmas Eve Best of edition of Your Game Plan for Retirement with the team from ASC Financial Group for a retirement built to last. Ralph Grauso and Josiah Grauso join us on the program each week. If you have questions, ladies and gentlemen, you can always reach the team from ASC Financial Group by calling 800-939-8633. That's 800-939-8633. As a special gift, they've also made an excellent resource available for you, the book Income Allocation, which explains some of the models proving to provide for better chances and opportunities for financial security and stability throughout your retirement. If you'd like to request a copy of that book, just give a call to 800-939-8633. In order to achieve financial security, Ralph and Josiah Grauso encourage us to get back to some of the basics, and in order to have a better tomorrow, take more control of our money today in understanding and following a budget.
While we're working, a lot of our income plan that we have is basically the more I work, the more I get paid, the more income I have. If I want to go on a trip or a vacation, I save up some money, I'm able to go and do that. Well, in retirement, the past generations, which had more of a focus on income, things like that had pensions or defined benefit plans, had the options to do that. They had a steady guaranteed paycheck every single month that was coming in. They knew that was coming in regardless if they spent the money or they didn't. Well, in today's generation, we now have a lump sum set of money typically that we've got to spend from. And if we go on a vacation or we use that and we're dipping into our nest egg, if we're not growing that money anymore, if we're not making enough to increase that account, eventually that account's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and we don't have that ability to save really anymore and to increase that account. So this could prove to be a very difficult time for somebody who hasn't properly planned for their retirement. In our firm here, in our office, whenever we sit down and we do a review with somebody, whether they're an existing client or somebody that's called our office from our listeners from the radio show or attended some of our educational workshops that we host in the Lehigh Valley and Pocono area, a lot of times when they come in, they sit down with us, there's times where they have a solid idea and picture of where they are, where they want to be, and how they want to get there, and just maybe need a couple of pieces to help glue this plan all together. At other times, I've got people that come in and says, my whole life, all I've done is I've worked, and in my job, they forced me to take a couple, dollars out of my paycheck to force me to put it into my 401k and keep me on a budget. I'm worried when I retire next year, how am I going to budget this money? How am I going to make sure I'm drawing on this money for the rest of my life and that I don't run out of it? That's my biggest fear. That's my biggest concern. And that actually is the number one fear that really faces retirees in America today, is running out of money, living too long and not having enough income to sustain them. And that's why understanding the proper fundamental steps of a budget and how your retirement assets are going to be working for you in the 20, 25, 30 years of your retirement is a real crucial piece in order to have a successful retirement. And that is something that we are trying at ASC Financial Group to bring to our listeners and to bring to our community, is this educational information in order to make proper decisions. We really believe that the more educated we are on income planning and sequence risk and diversification, the more we can understand from that, the better decisions that we can make. And we encourage anybody who would like to have more information on these several different topics, please take the time out to sit down with one of us from here at the team and let us give the opportunity to review any types of concerns that you might have that are out there. And this is only going to benefit you as the client, you as the listener out there.
That's Josiah Grauso of ASC Financial Group giving his opinion on the necessity of the foundational principle of budgeting your money. Ralph Grauso agrees that budgeting is important and adds on a few additional aspects when it comes to retirement specifically, where budgeting is going to become even more vital to your ultimate financial and retirement success.
In some cases where Social Security and pension might provide for all the income they need, it may seem, well, that's simple. I'm living off of my Social Security and pension. But what they fail to understand, and what our listeners need to understand, what that might buy you today may not do so 5, 10, or 15 years from now. And so we have to factor in inflation. And when we factor in inflation, we may need to be using money from other sources. And so that's why I believe everybody needs some type of an income plan. Obviously, if they do need supplemental income and they need other streams of income and their pension is not going to handle it all, then we got to do some more sophisticated income planning. But at the end of the day, everybody needs to have an income plan. I'm going to get a Social Security benefit. More than likely, that benefit is not going to keep pace with inflation down the road. Right now, currently, we've got a very low inflation rate, so people could be lulled into a false sense of security there. But, if you look at what goods and services were and what it cost to purchase them even 10 years ago, 5 years ago, today, we see that these items are higher. And so, again, we've got a plan that if our Social Security and/or pension is not going to cover our living expenses, how should we take distribution from our savings? And what's the income plan for that?
The income gap that we see is we're starting to receive sources of income that we didn't really have before while we were in our working years, which things such as Social Security starts to come into play. And if we're some of those few lucky people who still have defined benefit plans or pensions, that starts to come into play. But how does that really work compared to the type of income that we need? I've sat down with people who says, I don't have to worry too much about retirement because I know we get a guaranteed paycheck from the government when we retire. And he's talking about Social Security. Unfortunately, the Social Security check we're going to get typically is not going to be able to sustain the retirement picture we're really hoping to achieve. Even for some forms of pensions, I've sat down with people where they said, we've got a decent income pension that we're going to have coming in now. We've got a decent Social Security that's going to be coming in, and we'll be fine. And to answer them or to sit down with them, they're right. They're going to be fine for now. But 5 years later, 10 years later, Most pension plans don't have a cost of living adjustment. In fact, Social Security does have some form of a COLA, but historically hasn't kept up with inflation. So we're starting to draw a gap that we have from what the expenses we have coming in to, or what we have to pay out, to the income that we have coming in, and properly addressing that gap and minimizing that gap that we have is really one of the tools that we see in a solid or successful retirement plan.
So when you're saying that these sources of reliable income that we depend on in retirement, such as pensions, if you're lucky enough to have one, and Social Security, because they do not typically have these cost of living adjustments and do not keep up with inflation, that if you have a income gap day one of retirement, it's most likely to grow and become even wider over time, or even if you don't have a gap today, you may have one 5 or 10 years into the future?
Absolutely. I would say if you have a gap today and you're starting your retirement today, for the most part, I don't see any way that gap is going to go away or get smaller. It's going to do, the only thing is going to grow, increase, and get larger, unless we're lucky enough to maybe win the lottery or something. But I don't want to put my retirement plan on that hope. Same type of thing that we have if we're using things like 401k projections or anticipated amounts that we have, that we can start filling these gaps that we have in this area, or what we think we can make up for these retirement goals or amounts we have. And unfortunately, with these 401ks that we see, or these savings we put on the side, they're not guaranteed. They're not solid figure, a solid number that we have. In fact, I can think back to a client that I saw a couple of years ago, and their goal was to retire in 2009. And in 2008, they had one of these 2009 retirement target dated funds in their 401k that lost 39% the year that they were supposed to retire. And that drastically affected where their retirement plan was going. They wound up having to stay and work for another 3 years because it wasn't properly managed. It wasn't properly taken a look at, and income plan designed specifically for them to address some of these concerns that they have.
And certainly depleting assets may occur, and of course that can be dangerous to your long-term outlook. That's what the team at ASC Financial Group will certainly help you prevent, or at least identify, so you can be informed about it and make informed decisions. And they do that through that complimentary review process. Again, to speak with the team, Josiah Grauso, who you hear on the program here, Ralph Grauso, president and founder of the team at ASC Financial Group, make their time available to you on a complimentary, no-obligation basis. All you have to do is pick up the phone and give a call, 800-939-8633. Again, that's 800-939-8633. And Josiah, as part of that review process, you have also offered to provide the book, Income Allocation, which talks more in depth about a lot of these different strategies that we have talked about on today's show, correct?
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. If you remember, one of the things I talked about is well, how do we fill these gaps from income allocation? How do we solve it for potential gaps that may increase for market volatility or inflation? Or how do we solve those gaps? What's the cost if we have too much money in bank CDs or money markets that are just not paying interest anymore? And that's really where we feel that you can really fill these income gaps in with income allocation, and an approach that's designed to carve out a portion of your retirement nest egg that's going to be able to provide you a guaranteed, sustainable, increasing stream of income that is not reliant on the market going up or going down, but that you know how much you're supposed to have and how much is going to come in on a monthly basis. And yes, we want to make sure we provide this free educational piece of this income allocation book that we provide for everyone who comes and sits down with us, to really understand some of the tools that we use and how we found that income allocation can be vitally used as a successful tool to have a retirement that's built to last, that you have a retirement plan that is as successful as it could possibly be.
Quite simply, the team from ASC Financial Group know what to look for. They know what questions to ask to make that time as effective and beneficial for you as possible in identifying those potential problems and giving you solutions to solve them. And folks, if you would like to take them up on that opportunity for a complimentary financial review, pick up the phone right now and give a call, 800-939-8633. Again, that number, 800-939-8633. 800-939-8633. Thank you for tuning in to this special Christmas weekend Best of edition, Your Game Plan for Retirement, with the team from ASC Financial Group. For a retirement built to last, give Ralph and Josiah Grauso a call. Once again, the number, 800-939-8633. We hope you have a wonderful holiday and New Year. Thank you for spending some of your Christmas Eve day with us here on Your Game Plan for Retirement.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.